Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Media Moments with Moon. Today I'm going to be talking about Jungle Cruise in relation to 3 other movies. Now, one of these movies, it is clear that Jungle Cruise was greatly inspired by it. Another seemed to be Disney showing up how they can do it better than this other company. And the third one might surprise you, as I'll be talking about an element seen in both movies. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So let's start with the obvious and talk about Jungle Cruise compared to the Pirates of the Caribbean, because my family clicked onto the fact that these movies were very similar with the introduction scene, and by the end the similarities kept raking up. So to keep this video from being just about that, I'm going to limit myself to talking about only 3 elements these 2 movies shared. First is the villains. In both movies, we have these cursed beings after the main character, as well as a representative of a country, sometimes aiding the other villains and sometimes being against both parties. When it comes to the prince, whose last name I can't pronounce and therefore I won't try, and James Norrington, I have to say James Norrington ends up being the more interesting of these 2. He wants to marry Emily and recapture Jack to gain back his honor, while the prince is purely in it for power. We don't get much background for the prince, which I found very disappointing, especially as he played such a large role in the film. Pirates of the Caribbean also wins when it comes to the cursed crew, but this one was a lot closer. You see, I was really loving the background of the Crusaders, but the information we were given was never acted on. They remained just plain villains with a very interesting and rich background that wasn't reflected in their present state. Meanwhile, the pirate crew matched who they were before they were cursed, with depth added to them because of their circumstances. Second is the twist. Now this is hard to judge because I knew the twist in Jungle Cruise was going to happen because I had seen Pirates of the Caribbean. So this ended up being a case of a movie not relating to this movie, spoiling the movie because the main premise of them was exactly the same. I would say the fault of this would have to go to Jungle Cruise, as I wish they would have found a more creative way of introducing the twist, especially as very few have not seen the popular pirate movie. Then again, Disney does own it, so at least the only ones they're ripping off is themselves. Lastly, let's talk about the dynamic trio, as it's my opinion that the trio from Jungle Cruise are infinitely better than that from the Caribbean. Frank is way funnier than Jack could dream of being, and his relationship with Lily was just perfection. The nickname battle had me laughing, and so did the intentionally bad dad puns given by both. Then we have Miss Gregor, who was dynamic and funny and added to the duo's dynamic. No one ever really felt third-wheeled in the group, unlike in the Caribbean where the focus was always on a duo dynamic, with you rarely getting to see interactions with all 3, and those rarely being that good. Also, Jungle Cruise had the addition of a leopard, which was amazing throughout the movie, so it gets bonus points for that. With the obvious out of the way, let's talk about the movie this one kind of feels like a response to, and that being the newer Dr. Dolittle movie. Now, I love both movies and could not tell you which one was my favorite till I watched both side by side, so instead let's talk about the main element these 2 shared and how each movie did one part of it better than the other. And in case you are unsure what that element is, it's the fact that both focus on finding a magic flowering tree that will heal all sickness. Let's start with giving Dolittle some praise and talk about how the lore of the tree was done. I do not get how Frank never found the cove, as he mapped the entire river, including that spot, and had 400 years to look down and see a cage that was clearly out of place. We also didn't get any background on where the tree came from, and I have zero clue why the tree ended up dying in the end, except I guess to look cool and then to prevent the flowers from being sent out into the world. Meanwhile, we know why the tree grows in Dr. Dolittle. People have found it before, but due to a dragon, it was unable to bring it back or share their findings, and an agreement to keep the tree secret was in place so it didn't have to wither away and die for no reason. I wanted for the moon tree what Dolittle gave me for their healing tree. On the flip side, the use of Jungle Cruise was much better executed than that of Dolittle. The idea that the Queen of England is the only person worthy of having this flower seems silly to me, and that they would want it only to heal her a bit idealistic. Emily's motivations make more sense, and so do that of the prince's. Though I was a bit confused about why Emily was given more flowers at the end of the movie, but I'm just here to compare movies, not critique. Finally, I want to talk about something you might be surprised about, and that is the gay characters in Jungle Cruise compared to the one in Beauty and the Beast. Now, I've made it no secret on my channel that I'm a Christian who believes in the biblical idea of marriage, which includes no premarital sex, marriage being for life, and relationships being only valid when they're between a man and a woman. But in the same way I don't believe in being drunk, another element, though smaller in the Jungle Cruise movie, I can still talk about its role in the movie, and I want to do that with these two. Now, I don't think many people will argue that McGregor was a much better representative of that community than LeFou was. For McGregor, being gay is simply an element of who he was, while for LeFou, it was his entire personality. I see a lot of movies fall in the trap of wanting to be representative so badly that they end up stereotyping and making things worse. LeFou is an example of this, as he was a guy wanting Gaston and having a weird rushed relationship thing in the last scene of the movie. He was highly debated and criticized at media, and an otherwise good movie suffered because of his representation, quotation marks. But with McGregor, it was just an element of him. McGregor is also loyal, brave at times, and just as stubborn as his sister, just in different ways. I really liked his character in the movie, and even though I disagree with his idea of what love is, because for him, love is something he can't control and purely emotional based, well, for me, it's a choice, and one in which God has a specific and design and plan in mind for. Still, the point stands. The Jungle Cruise made a great and complex character in McGregor, while Beauty and the Beast made their fool even more of one. And that's all I have to say about Jungle Cruise. It was a great movie that took a lot of elements from other movies to make something of its own. The trio is by far the best part of the movie, though the action scenes and romance were also entertaining to watch. I laughed a lot watching the movie, can always appreciate a happy ending. But this is all the time I have for today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe, as I post 3 to 5 videos a week, and I'm often doing media moment vids whenever something of interest pops off. Also, leave a comment letting me know your own thoughts of Jungle Cruise and any other suggestions of other media-related things you'd like me to do one of these videos for. But until next time, I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye!